Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Celine here. Today's video is another DIY tutorial video. It's how to make these paper beads. You can use these paper beads for any crafting projects. I made them for a bracelet that I was making my husband for our first year anniversary because the first year wedding anniversary is paper. And I thought this would be a cool idea, and it actually turned out to be a very cool bracelet. I even utilized the leftover paper programs from our church ceremony, so this gift is actually very meaningful. And I am so proud of myself for coming up with this idea. What you will need for your project is any paper that you want to use for your beads, so it doesn't have to be print. You can use any just colored construction paper or anything like wrapping paper, anything with pattern. And then you will need something to cut your paper with. I happen to have a paper cutter at home, so I'm just using that. But if not, scissors and a long ruler will do. And then you will need some white glue. White glue is best because it's the easiest to work with. Glue gun, it dries too quickly and you cannot really play around with it. So white glue is best. And I will be needing my ruler as well to measure out the size, and of course a pencil. And you will need something that you can roll your beads with. I found this really small knitting needle that is perfect for rolling up my beads. I like the size of it. It makes a big enough hole, but of course you can use those wooden skewers or even like a pencil. Anything you have at home that you don't mind getting glue on, because you will get glue on it. So the first thing we have to do is to measure out the size of your paper strips. Now if you're using what I'm using, anything with print, you have two options. You can go vertically or horizontally, depending on your style and whether there's a lot of print on the page. I decided to go vertically because it just seems to get nicer print this way. If you're using patterned paper, that's not so much of an issue. Now on to the very important point, the bead size. You just have to play around with it to see what kind of bead shape you want. Now I knew I wanted something a little bit more rounded and not so long, so I am using a 1 centimeter base. But it also depends on the paper thickness that you're using. If you're using something really thin and flimsy like tissue paper, which I'm not even sure if it's going to work, but let's just say you're using tissue paper. If you use 1 centimeter base, then you will end up with a rather long looking bead as well, because the paper material is thin and it won't puff up as much. But then if you do the opposite and choose something really thick like construction paper or something like cardboard paper, when you roll up your bead, then of course it's going to be puffier and larger. I did a couple of trial runs and I found out that I need my strips of paper to have 1 centimeter base and 4 millimeters for the top. And now I'm just going to cut these paper strips out. After you've cut all your paper strips, you will notice they resemble a very long triangle because the base is 1 centimeter, so it's wider than the top, which is only 4 millimeters. And when you start rolling the beads, you will start from the wider end and work your way towards the narrower end. For the kind of bead that I want, I realized I need to use 2 strips of paper to make 1 single bead. So I'm just stacking 1 strip over the other in order to make my bead. And here you will see me kind of rummage through the pile to look for a better looking one. So this strip right here with that portion of white on the bottom, if you place that on top and you roll your bead, then you will end up having just a plain white bead because there's no print on it. So I needed to do some strategizing just to make sure I always have something that I like to be on top and not end up with having like nothing. Otherwise I will have a bracelet of like no print. So let's get rolling. Now I'm taking my the needle or the whatever tool you have to roll the bead, and I'm just placing my needle on the wider end of the strips. And I roll the paper over my tool and just kind of give it a little crease just so that it'll stay in place. And you just roll the paper over the tool, and you just roll the needle all the way down towards the narrower end of the strips. As I roll the bead, you will see that I use my thumb to just kind of nudge it, and just to make sure that the bead is rolling up nicely and is not like slanted to one side. So because my bead is so small and towards the end of my strip there's a lot of white space, if I continue to roll up the bead, then you will see just like a blank, like a white bead, because I'll cover up all the print. So I'm just going to take my pair of scissors and just snip that white portion off. So to finish off the bead, I'm taking the white glue and just placing a very small dab onto the end of the strips. Now what you need to do next is just to use your thumb and just continue the rolling motion over the needle and just kind of just smear the glue all over the bead. As you can see, this does get a little bit messy, so I think this is a really good time just to, you know, get in there, get dirty, play with the glue. Once you have a nice layer of glue over your entire bead, especially around the edges, you can then now slide it off your skewer or needle or pencil and just find an area for it to dry. Now I'm just going to repeat the exact same process for the rest of the beads. Once you have made all your beads and allowed them to dry overnight, the next step would be to varnish. Now because I'm only making 2 bracelets, one for my husband, one for myself, I did not go out to buy an entire jar of varnish just for 2 bracelets. So instead I'm using a clear nail polish. Now keep in mind that nail polish won't last as long, and eventually you'll need to, I don't know, do another coating over the bracelets if you want to keep the bracelets for years to come. If this is an important project, then I don't know, you might want to invest in the real stuff. So as you can see here, I just took a few toothpicks. Once again, you can use those barbecue skewers and just start painting your beads with the varnish or the clear nail polish. I think I did around 2 to 3 coats of clear nail polish, you know, just in case. And that's it. You just find an area for it to dry, and I just hung it over my scissors. But you know, if you're doing more than 1 bead, then I suggest you, I don't know, maybe find a tin can or something. And that's it guys. This is how you make these super easy and fun to make paper beads. Don't forget to thumbs up this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel if you're not already. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!